Um, let's just, while we're waiting for a few more people to come in, because I can see some people are messaging me about getting into the Zoom. I know you're all kind of from Carmel, you're all from Carmel by the Sea. Not sure if you all know each other. So, but
We do.
it
We
would be
do.
so we don't probably need a round robin introducing ourselves, but what would be very helpful for me, as I'm going to be teaching you 3 sessions here, is I'm just going to go around the room. Feel free to let me know your, so a couple of you on your Zoom names haven't got your full names, so but hopefully we're good. Let's go around the room, and I'd love to know what you enjoy taking pictures of and what camera, if any, you use. And that doesn't matter if it's an iPhone or what I would call a proper camera. So I'm going to start, no particular order. I'm just going to go around the room here. I'm going to start with Karen, please.
Okay. Karen Lacy, Lacy, and I just use the camera on my iPhone,
Mhm. And what do you,
14.
what do you like taking pictures of?
Really, anything with people in it is
Great.
really more the case. So more of a portrait nature.
Fantastic. Well, very nice to meet you. Let's go to Elaine next, please. And you guys can all take yourself off mute for a second. While we're waiting for Elaine, let's go to Nina.
Good morning. I'm an iPhone person. Hi, Adam. Nice to see you again. I I take mostly pictures of people, children, and I also do a lot of documenting where I've been, what I'm doing, travel, that sort of thing.
Yeah, fantastic. We call that street photography. That's good to know. Elaine, let's jump to you, please. Hey,
I have an iPhone, and I use that for recording things. I like to take pictures of inanimate objects. I don't take pictures of people very often.
good. And let's jump to Missy.
Hi, Missy Jensen, and let's see, I like to take pictures of gardens and landscapes, and I'm also sort of interested in portraiture, which I haven't studied yet, but an interest. And I have an old Nikon 5000, which is not an SLR, but nice camera, and I would love to find a little small one that
Yeah,
I used to have. I used to have a fantastic little Nikon that was just unbelievable point and shoot, and I can't really find anything to replace that, so thank
great.
you.
One thing you'll see as we progress through the course is really, I always say the best camera is the 2 inches behind it, i.e. you. So it doesn't really matter whether you've got an iPhone, a $5,000 camera or a $500 camera. It doesn't matter to me. My job is to teach you the skills to help create better photos. And then it's nice that so far everyone who's shared what they're interested in, we've got some variety because this course is not going to focus just on taking pictures of flowers. It's going to be pretty broad, both conceptual and technical. So thank you for sharing that, Missy. Let's go to Catherine, please. You're on mute, Catherine.
Hi.
Oh, another Catherine. Hold on. KMC Grew. You're another Catherine because I can't see your name as Catherine. I think so. We've got two Catherines. Okay, let's go for Catherine Sparolini first, please.
Okay, good morning. I basically use only an iPhone for my camera and take pictures of children, my grandchildren mostly. I do sometimes take portraits of just flowers and different things like that, but not very often. Occasionally, I'll try to take a sunset, and when I do, I look at the sunset and I look at the picture that I've taken, and it's always better in real life. So I'd like it to kind of get closer together.
Yeah, absolutely. And grandkids are a challenge. Kids, grandkids, animals, taking pictures of moving things that don't cooperate, then we will look at how some ways that I can give you some tips and tricks to help you do that. So thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing that, Catherine. Let's go to the other Catherine.
Hi. I have a Leica and I have a Canon film camera that I still shoot with occasionally. I mainly shoot travel photos, I guess, at this point.
Great, very good. Nice to meet you, Susan. Let's jump to you.
I like taking pictures of landscapes, gardens, and places I go when I'm on trips.
Great, good, good, good. And let's go to the other Susan, Susan Lansbury, please.
Okay. Hi. I use my iPhone and I love to take pictures of my family, my kids, grandkids, food at wonderful dinners and travel and just all the beauty around us. It's
Great.
just wonderful.
Yeah, you guys are lucky. You live in probably one of the most picturesque places on the planet. So there's no shortage of taking good photos. Isabella, let's go to you, please.
Okay, my name is Isabella de Sibert. I love taking photos of my granddaughter, but she's 4 and moves a lot. And I have a little garden consulting business. I take a lot of photos of plants and landscapes, and I'm not very good.
Okay. Well, we're always our own harshest critics, and I have a 4-year-old.
No.
I have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old girl, so I know exactly how tricky it is to get a 4-year-old to sit still. Let's go to Iris, please.
Oh, hi. Good morning, Adam. Nice to meet you. I'm Iris Huber, and I take the iPhone for taking photographs wherever I go, and nature and also people. And I'd like to know or to learn how to take a photograph in a big group.
Yeah, that's a good question. Very good question. We'll definitely be covering that over the course of the next 3 sessions, which will be nice.
Great.
Let's meet you. Let's go to Judy.
Oh, good morning. I'm Judy Harold. I generally will take pictures of grandkids and then scenery. We're going on a trip, so I'm looking forward to trying to document that well. So I miss my Canon Rebel, but I just can't take a good my iPhone just does a much better job, or the person behind that camera does a better job with the iPhone.
Good. I like that rephrasing. Nice to meet you, Judy. Let's go to Julie, please. There we go.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Julie Jikas here. I seem to tend to take photos only with my iPhone, and a lot of times it's very just spontaneous. It's something that catches my eye, or I'm on a walk, or I'll find a deer on the side of the road, and I'm just trying to, grab my phone as quickly as I can and try to get it aimed as best I can. It seems I do a lot of photos of my dogs, my family, sports when I'm out and about and I see, great things happening. So I take photos of all kinds of things, but I don't necessarily have anything planned that I go out and I seek something in particular.
Okay, good. Very good. Very nice to meet you. Let's jump
You
to
too.
Sally. Let's jump to Sally, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Adam. I wish I'd known you many years ago when I was head of photography because I needed you. I like to take pictures of my family and flowers, and I like to do close-ups.
Very good. So we'll definitely be doing some work on the macro. And it's nice that so far everyone's got an iPhone, because that means I can just stay with one tool essentially, and we don't need to. Out of interest, just a raise of hands, has anyone got a Google, Android, or a Samsung phone? Perfect. So everyone's on the iPhone. That makes life much easier.
Actually, Adam, Therese Clark is. I
Therese.
don't know,
Okay.
but Therese is on a Android.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for noting that. While we're here, I'm gonna first of all say thank you to Cass for pulling all of this together. I know she's worked very hard to pull this group together, so big thank you to her. And I'm going to go to Cass and ask so she can share with the group what camera she uses and what she enjoys taking pictures of.
Okay, well, you know me, Adam, and I'm all over the place, but I love my iPhone. I'm excited about now learning some more things about the iPhone. You have not heard from Incy, I don't think. Incy, have you shared?
No, can you hear
Oh,
me?
and then also,
I know, right? There's a few. I've got some few.
okay, good. A couple people are still joining. Bridget, I think, is
Absolutely.
starting.
I've got 3 more people here. Just while you spoke, I thought I'd come to you.
Ladies, before anything else, I want everyone to know we're working with an absolutely fabulous young man. He had his 40th birthday yesterday, so he's going to keep us young.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Got you beat.
I'm told 40 is the new 25, so let's see. Okay, thank you. Let's go to Bridget, please.
Oh, wait a minute, am I mute?
No, you're good. We can hear you loud and clear.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, everybody. I'm pretty much on time. Anyway, I want to say thank you. I'm delighted to get to do this. I have not been doing photography for quite a while. Last time I really got into it was when we went to Africa. And now I'm just playing with my phone, and I mainly do florals, people, situations, animals.
Excellent. Very nice. Nice
Thank
variety
you.
there. And then I see Ruth down there. Hi, I can see you.
And I guess I would say that I do exactly what everyone else does, but I find my eyesight to be a challenge doing photography these days. And
Yeah.
if there's tips to help that, I think that would be helpful.
A lot of tips, especially on the iPhone. There's a lot of things in terms of accessibility that make things easy. I teach a lot of people and have taught a lot of people who have vision issues. Um, and one of the fantastic things about technology now is it still makes things a lot more accessible. So thank you for pointing that out, and I'll definitely make sure I touch upon that. Anyone, my Zoom jumps around a little bit in terms of where I see everyone on the screen. Is there anyone I've missed here? Oh, Harriet, sorry. There we go. Hello.
Actually, it says Harriet, but my name is Incy. And I'm delighted, Adam. I've heard so much about you. I'm really looking forward to these classes. I basically, I like to combine nature with people, and take a lot of family photos and trip photos and flowers, like everybody. But my children get tired of me because I take so long to get the picture set up and to take it. And they sort of say, Mom. So I think I need to, upgrade my talent here.
Perfect. Well, hopefully you're in the right place. So very nice to meet you. Before I jump in, let me just talk logistics for a little bit, just so everyone knows how these classes are going to work. So we have 3 sessions scheduled, spaced out a couple of weeks apart intentionally. I'm going to give you a homework at the end of each class to go off and do. When I give you that homework, I usually ask everyone to send me 3 to 5 pictures. We'll get there once we get to the end of today. I'm just setting everything up for you. And you can just email those to you. A big part of this course is going to be looking at kind of how we grow individually and also how we grow as a group over the next 3 sessions. Pictures can, usually I ask, we've got this same slot to make things easier in terms of timing over the next 3 sessions. Please, if you can, try not to send me your pictures at 8:58 a.m. when the lesson starts at 9. It just makes my life a little bit harder. So if you can send them the night before by the latest, that's really appreciated by me. It just means I can collate everything into it and take a look at everything and put it all into a presentation for you. Secondly, is all classes are recorded. So we're recording right now. What I do is at the end of the session, I collate the recording together. I kind of piece it all together to make it easy for you guys to access. And I will send out a link, which will just take you straight to a YouTube, like 2-hour recording from this class. And you are free to watch that for the next 3 months. You can watch it as many times as you like. Any questions? I always say no question is a silly question. Please feel free if you're having any difficulty with the recording, which hopefully you won't, but if you are, please feel free to reach out to me. In terms of other logistics, I think that's it, actually. This is going to be, everything's on Zoom for the next 3 classes. You're going to use the same link for all 3 sessions, although I will resend it out. I always send a reminder the night before, just to remind everyone class is coming up tomorrow. Here's the link. But yeah, if you want to bookmark this link to make your life easier, feel free. I just saw, Cass, that you messaged me. Marietta is having a hard time getting in. I don't see her in the
See
waiting.
Marietta Bain. Okay, I'm on my phone with her, so we'll work on it.
Yeah, just once she can get in, I'll let her in. But in the interest of time, I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to get started. So, very nice to meet you all. I'm Adam Jacobs, professional photographer of 23 years now. Have been fortunate enough to photograph every living president, actually, other than Trump. I started as a sports photographer working for Michigan football a long time ago, but have since broadened out to a lot of commercial work, landscapes, food, portraits, flowers, you name it, I've probably done it. And I've also taught for almost 20 years as well. My job is to be a complete open book to all of you. I want you to ask any question. I want to be able to share my experience, my expertise to you all. I also want to make sure this is a really nice sized group, which is great. But I also want to make sure as I'm talking that none of you feel like I'm saying something and you don't understand it. So if for some reason I'm saying something and it's going over your heads or you're not sure about it, please raise your hand. Even feel free to interject and interrupt me because sometimes I don't see people holding their hand up. and I'll make sure that we get things covered. Primary aim of today actually is to get us all up to like a certain level, because you're all going to have different experience. Some of you may have been photographing for a year, 2 years. Some of you may be photographing for 30 years. Some of you may have a film background. Some of you may not. Today is going to focus a lot on how we, I like to say, make, not take pictures. And there's a great phrase to start this, which is by a very famous street photographer called Henri Cartier-Bresson, who's kind of, you guys are in Carmel, so I can talk about Ansel Adams. It's like the Ansel Adams of street photography. And this could be your first 10,000 photographs, 100,000 photographs, a million photographs. Even I, as a professional photographer of 22 years, I'm always learning. I'm always honing my eye. I'm always trying to get better. Photography is a discipline that involves a little bit of practice. You are going to get much more out of these 3 sessions by going out. That's why I set you the homeworks to kind of incentivize you. And by going out, doing the homework, shooting. The beauty of digital is it's free. You can take as many pictures as you want. You can see what pictures look like when you change things. The only thing you are losing is your time. But hopefully your time is being spent in a worthwhile way by practicing your photography. So that's a lot of time when I teach groups like this. Everyone wants to like be able to take a picture of a hummingbird, like this at the beginning. We have to do one thing at a time. It's very important. So there may be some things that I covered today that for some of you is really familiar ground. Take it as refreshment. Take it as we're refining it. Hold on, Cass, I'll come to you in a second. And for those of you for it's new, my hope is by the end of today's lesson, we're all at the same level. And when I start throwing out photography words and concepts, I know that everyone in the group has an understanding of it. And if they don't, they have the recording to be able to go back and look on. Okay, so theme of today. And it's great. We've got a really diverse group in terms of portrait, street photography, macro, floral, food, like sports. You guys shared it all, which is great. How do we make our photos stand out? So I don't want to go to the Bixby Bridge with all of you and us all theoretically pointing our cameras in the same direction, taking the same picture of the Bixby Bridge. My job as your photography teacher over the next month or so is to equip you with as many tools as I can. Think of photography like you have lots of different tools in your toolkit. And I want to make you each the best version of you can be as yourself individually. I don't want to make you a clone of me, because that would be boring, because then we'd all take the same picture. My job is to make your photos stand out. We don't all want to be pointing the same way. And there's lots of ways to think about how we make our photographs stand out. And the first place to think about it is thinking about what makes a good photograph. Because there are some think of another way of thinking of creating a good photograph is like baking a cake. There's lots of different things that I can put into my recipe. I need to know the different things, and then I need to pick the right ingredients at the right time. But there are some commonalities, and I want us to learn those commonalities today. The first place to start, though, is we can ask this big umbrella question, which is kind of going to be the theme of today. What makes a good photograph? And the very first place we can start with that is we can think about it by value. So until almost 2.5 or 3 years ago, this was the world's most expensive photograph. $5.2 million. Someone paid for this. So someone thought it was a good photograph. I'm going to call on some people because I like to keep my lessons interactive. Sally, what do you think? Anything here that speaks to you in terms of making this a good photograph?
Am I looking at water?
You're looking at water. That's exactly what you're looking at. Yeah, you got it. It's the River Rhine in Germany.
Okay.
I mean, feel free to-
So it's level. It's level. I like
Good.
the way it's on horizon level, and I need more color in it though.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. By the way, can you guys just see my writing here?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Good. Let's ask Catherine. Catherine, let's go Catherine Sparolini first. Any other ideas that you think, I mean, why would someone pay $5.2 million for this? So someone thought it was a good photo, if not a whole group of people.
Well, I think it's calming. There's not a lot of action. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's peaceful, restful.
Good.
Maybe that's
That's a really important point. It makes us feel something. So generally in our photography, if we can make someone feel something, now that's not going to be in every single picture you take of your dog, your cat, your grandkids, a flower, but it's something that we can definitely strive to. Excellent, very good. Let's ask one other person who I'm just seeing if anyone's off mute. Let's ask Elaine, please, if you're there, Elaine.
Yes, I like the different stripes across the photograph, and I like seeing some detail in the sky after you look at it a long time. You see more.
Yes, very good, excellent, Elaine. So we've got some layering. This is by a photographer called Andreas Gursky. He's a German fine art photographer. A big characteristic of his work is repetitive line. And you can see here there's clearly repetitive line. Now, this is the River Rhine in Germany. And what's interesting about it is there was a whole load of houses over here. There was a factory over here. And you'll soon learn I'm a good photographer, but my illustrations are like my 4-year-old. And there are a load of people walking over here.
Wow.
And he took them all out. And he took them all out. It was interesting that one of you said it kind of is not enough color and it doesn't really make you feel anything. Because he actually, the meaning behind this picture was he wanted you to look at it and feel a bit like blah. Because it's a big sweeping comment on how all the factories had moved out of rural Germany, the countryside, and had left the whole place feeling very soulless and empty. He wanted you to kind of look at this picture and just kind of feel a bit sad or reflective. Lots of people look at this picture and say it makes them feel like melancholy. A lot of people I show this picture to and they say, I hate it. That's okay, because photography is subjective. Would I pay $5.2 million for this? Absolutely not. I think there's lots of better photos that I've seen, but it's a good place to start, especially when we look that it's been replaced by this. This is now the world's most expensive photograph. So a group or a lot of people thought that this was an excellent picture. Now let's ask who have we got here, and feel free to keep you guys off mute. Let's ask Karen. Karen, when I flick this picture up, where does your eye go?
Well, definitely to the stream of light coming in with darkness all around it.
Perfect. So we call this stream of light, or we call the brightest part of our photos, we call it a highlight. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. So highlight is the brightest part of a photograph. Shadow is the darkest part. And generally, in photography, we always get drawn to the highlight first. We always see the brightest thing. Hence why you get sucked right in here. Isabella, any other ideas why you think your eye or that Karen's eye went here first?
Because it does. I don't like it. I find it very strange.
Yeah, that's okay. So another reason is because if we think about it, this is in a slot canyon in Utah, not too far from you guys, and it's almost naturally framed. The cave is almost like framing a picture, is taking our eye into what we call in photography the focal point. Now, the focal point is just the fancy way of saying the main subject in our picture. And you'll hear me talk a lot about focal points. Generally, really good photography intentionally takes the viewer to the main focal point. It's really important. We have lots of different ways of doing that I'm going to cover today. But what we don't want is we don't want someone looking at a picture and saying, my eye's going over there, my eye's going top left, bottom right, into the middle, and not really knowing where to go. So we're going to look at a number of different ways that help drive the viewer's attention to the main focal point. This, show of hands, who's been to Las Vegas? Okay, a few of you. So this is taken by an Australian photographer called Peter Lick, who started his career about 35 years ago. And he's a fantastic landscape photographer. He puts these huge immersive pieces outside casinos in Vegas. He started in the Bellagio Hotel. And it's like you look at the redwood trees and you're sitting on a nice log and there's trees and there's leaves rustling under your feet. Or you go and look at the beach and there's sand on the floor and you can hear the waves. This picture, he had an assistant here hiding behind this wall who threw up some dust on the floor. There was a shard of light here. The sun's coming in here. And so the story goes, he did one picture and he was like, oh my goodness, I see a ghost. I see the photo's phantom. I see a figure. And he's like, my work is done. And he left. There's a lot of chatter in like the fine art world, whether he did it once, whether he did it 50 times, whether he manipulated it. It doesn't really matter. The point is that lots of people find this to be a good photograph. It's a good place to start. Show of hands, who prefers number one? Okay, and who prefers number two? Okay, so we're about half split, which is good. So that's interesting. So this is a nice quote, actually, that I really like when we think about photography. Photography is jazz for the eyes. All I ask you to do is listen with your eyes. Photography is all about learning to see better. Today, we're hardly going to touch on anything technical when it comes to like, I could spend 10 hours teaching you iPhone tips and tricks, but first we got to get the conceptual. I've got to teach you to see like a photographer. Photography stems from the word, the etymology of the word, Greek, painting with light or drawing with light. Photo means light, graphy means drawing or painting. So us understanding how light works, where it comes from, and seeing scenes better is the key, more important than any technical stuff I can show you, to creating better photography. Nice little fun quote, I like it. So let's pull back for a second and let's think about what can photography do that if we were a sculptor or we were doing floral design or we were a painter that we can't do? Well, photography can freeze moments. A lot of you would have seen this picture before, and a lot of you mentioned when I went around the room that you like taking pictures of kids and animals and sports and different things. We have to know how to capture these candid moments. You'll hear GCA talk a lot about candid photos, especially when it comes to shows. Candid just means not posed. This was lauded as one of the greatest candid photos of the 20th century. It's the guy kissing the girl in Times Square on D-Day by a very famous photographer called Alfred Eisenstadt. Now, interestingly, unfortunately, the guy, he passed away a couple of years ago. He came out in his memoirs. He said, actually, I got the guy, I got the girl. I asked them to go together and I asked them to kiss. Kind of a moment, but it doesn't matter. It's still so iconic. Everyone knows about it. It's like this photo, which is way more shocking. For those of you who said you like documenting travel and street photography and the world around us, it's the elite group of photographers for street photography are called the Magnum Group. You can look them up. And the founder of Magnum was a guy called Eddie Adams. He took this picture in the late 60s. This is taken in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh. And this picture obviously was before the internet, and photos go around the world in a second, was widely accredited for being American consciousness to what was going on in Vietnam and everything that subsequently happened since then. So using photography and the ability of our shutter to freeze moments is really important. Now, I'm totally apolitical. I don't talk politics. I'm English. I can't even vote. But I love showing people this picture, which was from the attempted assassination of Trump last year, because it almost looks to me like it was staged. I could write a thesis on this picture. There are so many elements that go into making it a good photograph. Look how Trump's face is predominantly the highlight, the brightest part. Look how the red of the flag and the red blood on his face tie it in. Look how red and blue are complementary colors. We're going to talk about a lot of this. Look how the Secret Service agents are framing him. His position in the frame is really important. So there's lots of things that you're going to, hopefully by the end of today, I'm going to be able to show you photos like this, and you're going to be able to answer that question of what makes it a good photograph. Look at this one. This one's really like, I don't even have to tell any of you where it was taken. And this is the kind of the old adage, a picture paints 1,000 words. This was when the internet was in its infancy, 2001. People had started being on the internet, but it wasn't like it was today. This was the most viewed picture on the internet in 2001. So lots of people, quote unquote, thought it was a good picture. It captured their attention. Now, interestingly, it's fake, but I still like showing it to people because there's a lot because it invokes a reaction, which it did in lots of you. And it's a really good, I don't know why someone would put this together, but it's a really good example of how photography, when done well, doesn't need an abstract. It doesn't need any explanation. If anything, it makes us ask more questions, which is a good thing. Even here, show of hands, how many of you are on Instagram? Okay, I show this because Instagram is the most shared platform for photography currently. And this I just pulled, this is the 5 most popular photos on Instagram as of today. For example, 75 million people, it's a lot of people, that's more people than live in the UK, thought this picture was good. Now, interestingly, they all, again, kind of have some commonalities running through them. A lot of them invoke nostalgia, family. This is 3 of them are actually soccer players. But the one I'd like to talk about is this one, the egg. The egg.
The egg.
So the internet banded together and 55 million people thought this was a good photo. Now, they were trying to be funny, but I think this is a good learning lesson for all of us because I teach a lot of studio workshops. I work with Nikon and Canon and Manfrotto, and I teach a lot of workshops for big brands, and I teach professional photographers who sometimes I say all the gear and no idea because some of them just don't know what they do or shouldn't, not as much as they should do. And a big part of what I do when people walk in to my lessons is I will give everyone an egg. I'm just going to imagine this is an egg. Give everyone an egg, and I'll say you've got 5 minutes to take 20 different pictures of the egg and not use any of the fancy techniques that you think or may know. And everyone looks at me like I'm nuts. But the key, and the egg could be analogous to a human face. The egg could be a landscape. The egg could be your dog. It doesn't matter. The key is that you need to be able to understand that a big part of creating better pictures is changing your perspective. You'll hear me talk about perspective a lot today. I cannot tell you how many people take photos and they go to take their photo this way or this way, and it's like their feet are stuck in cement. They go like this, they go like this, for those of you that can hopefully see me. But people don't think to come closer. They don't think to go further away. They don't think to move around an object and think of it in a 360-degree manner. Maybe it looks better from above. When we go lower, something happens because we change the perspective. The light changes as we move around things. So zooming with your feet, I have lots of these phrases that I like teaching people, but zooming with your feet is one way, without me telling you anything fancy, that I can help improve your photography. You can go to any tourist attraction across the world where there's hundreds of people taking pictures. And if you go to the cypress tree in Carmel, you'll see 1 million people, they get out their car and they just stand like this. And they may go that way, may go that way, and then they get back in their car. And A, everyone's getting the same picture, but B, not changing your perspective is a sure way of not making your photographs stand out from the crowd. Let's look at this picture when we talk about changing perspective. So when we shoot from low, things look huge. This could be flowers, this could be me, this could be Bill Clinton. This picture is kind of interesting. I love when I teach, I love showing my own work, but I also love showing other photographers' work because I think it gives you a more rounded photography education. And also anyone who you like, you can go up and look up yourself and see their work. This is a very famous portrait photographer called Platon, based out of New York. He's actually English originally. He got in the 90s commissioned to go and photograph Bill Clinton. They said, go and take some headshots of Bill Clinton, please. He went, he spent 20 minutes or so taking the headshots of Bill Clinton. This was right in the middle of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. The very last picture, he thought, I'm going to chance my luck. And he lay on his belly, literally lay in front of Bill Clinton. So here's Bill Clinton, and here's the photographer, kind of, excuse my stick man. Here's the photographer lying on the floor. And so the story goes, he said, show me the money, Mr. President. Clinton opened up his legs and he took the picture. And it's become iconic. They show that if you went to photography school, you'd 100% get shown this picture. It's very, very famous. It's famous because of the message. It's famous because he kind of looks a bit like the Lincoln Memorial, like this very strong pose. But the reason I'm showing it to you here is because he's photographed from below. And when we photograph things from below, they look huge. When I get commissioned to go and photograph politicians and athletes, one of the requests that's usually in my call sheet to tell me how to, I usually have freedom, but sometimes they tell me exactly how I need to photograph it, is photograph from a low perspective. I've got a friend who photographs, if any of you have ever seen a Mission Impossible movie, all the Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has a rider in his contract that says I have to be shot from the knee. So, and that's because Tom Cruise in real life is 5'6". He wants to look 6'6". But all these photographers and videographers are running around photographing him from their knees level to make him look bigger. It's just camera trickery. So we're going to think about even the field of flowers here. Purely me going low makes these daisies feel a little bit more imposing, a little bit more towering. It gives them a bit more majesty. Change the mood of the photo, especially when it comes to photographing gardens and flowers. A lot of the time we want our flowers and our gardens to feel very like we want that message of growth. And just by going lower can help us achieve that. Now, a tip for all of you when it comes to iPhones, because you're all on iPhones, is iPhone have done a great thing. Apple have done a great thing over the last year, is actually for all of you, your lenses are going to be on the top of your phone. Everyone, you may have 3, you may have 2 lenses, you may have 1, doesn't matter. But if you open up the camera app on your phone and you turn your camera upside down, the photo will flip to keep the right way up. Apple have done that on purpose because they've done it so you can gain an extra 8 inches, 10 inches, depending on which phone you've got, of perspective. So you don't necessarily have to lie on the floor. You can get a lower perspective purely by turning the camera upside down. And everything stays the right way around. It used to, we used to have to take upside down pictures afterwards, but hopefully you can all see as you go like this. I'll show you on here. Oops, I'm a bit zoomed in here, but you can see that I take myself out of the frame. When I move it, I stay the right way around. It moves with me. That's what I mean. But I'm getting a lower perspective. Now, generally, we don't want to photograph most people. Your friends and family are not going to be delighted if you photograph them all from low perspectives. You're going to be seeing straight up their nostrils, and you're going to be seeing, like, people are going to say, oh, you see my double chin. That's the reason why when people do selfies, they put their hand up here. Because when we photograph things from above, they look smaller. They look more slender. They look more streamlined. So changing our perspective is incredibly important as we think about how we can go about creating better pictures. This is actually a beach in the Bay Area in Pacifica, not too far from you guys. But I was down here on the beach and it was interesting and there were pretty colors, but I was like, I think I can do better than this. And I actually climbed up the mountain and I took a picture from above because I wanted to get this layering of beautiful color and I wanted to be able to see the expanse of the beach. So thinking about changing our perspectives is very important. I love showing this picture. If you all open up your cameras on your iPhone, please. And on the bottom, you'll see some numbers. And one of the numbers you'll see on the left will say 0.5. You all have an ultra wide angle lens. Make sure you're on photo if you don't see it. But if you're on photo, not video or portrait, make sure you're on photo. You should see there's a 0.5. And when you click on that and you look into your room and you move your camera around, you're going to see more. You're going to see a wider field of view. This is great for landscape photography. Great. We're going to talk about landscape photography in a minute. It's terrible for portrait photography because it distorts things. You get a lot of distortion. And this picture went viral. This was a few years ago. And everyone was like, how on earth did they allow this to be released? Because look at Joe Biden, look at Jill Biden, look at Jimmy Carter's feet. Like everything in the center, the lamp, is not distorted. As we move further and further out from the center, everything looks a little bit like we're in Hobbit land. So wide angle lenses, we have to be careful. They're very good at allowing us to change our perspective and especially accentuate, emphasize the change in perspective. But we want to try and avoid it for portraits, just a tip. Not always, but a lot of the time it was going to make your life harder. So look at this picture here. This was in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. I was teaching a workshop and we found this pretty plant. And every single person took the picture like this. I said, go and take a picture. Everyone was on iPhones. I said, how about we just move around to the side and go lower? Same picture. Nothing's changed. Haven't changed anything fancy technically. I've just shifted my perspective. You'll hear me talk a lot, as I say, about perspective. I always say every good photographer needs 4 Ps. Perspective is 1. Patience is another, and that's hard. But sometimes we just want to wait that second for the sun to come out from behind the clouds, or that annoying person who's behind our spouse to move out the way so we don't have their head in the way. Practice is the third one. And perseverance is the last one. Perspective, patience, practice, and perseverance. I'm going to help you with this, but don't worry if you find some of this stuff difficult at the beginning. That's normal. We're going to persevere. We're going to work together as a group. My job is to get you all excited about taking pictures, like as a group, like as a workshop, as a team. It's going to be really fun to see how we all grow over these next couple of sessions. But remember the 4 Ps. I'm just going to pause there for a second and ask if anyone has a question. Okay, great, good. So let's come back to our question of what makes a good photograph. And let's think about the usual answers. The most obvious one, and I've alluded to it already, is lighting. Lighting is the bedrock foundation of good photography. I cannot emphasize it enough. As I say, it comes from the word painting with light. And we can generally, at least to start off with, I'm going to break up lighting into 2 categories. One is direction. And hopefully everyone can read my writing. And 2 is intensity. How strong, number 2, how strong or weak is the light? Number 1 is where it's coming from. Now let's deal with number 1 first, direction. All of you are going out and taking pictures, either inside or outside, and there is always going to be what we as photographers call a key light. The key light means the strongest light in your scene. Nina, in the real world, what do you think our key light is most of the time?
The sun.
You got it. Good. So when we go out, most of the time, the sun is our key light. When you're inside, it may be your window, the light coming through your window. It could be if you have a bright light, but the majority of time we are taking photographs, the sun is our key light. And we have to think about where is the sun coming from and how can we use it to our advantage to take the best possible picture wherever we are. And the easiest way to think about it, and there's lots of different ways to think about it, but the easiest way to think about it at the beginning is I like using the analogy of a clock. Because we all know what a clock face looks like. And we're going to imagine that the thing we're taking a picture of is in the middle of our clock. There's my flower. And you, as the photographer, are at 6 o'clock taking your picture. And you're always at 6 o'clock. If you can remember this, this will really help you. Let's ask Susan. Susan, if I was taking a picture of this flower, and I purposely haven't filled in some of the numbers on the clock face here, where do you think would be a good place for the sun to be coming from to take a nice photo of this flower? No silly answers. Give it a guess. Any ideas?
Susan Lansbury?
She's thinking. She's thinking. I'll come to someone else. Let's ask Julie, actually, please.
So we're at 6 o'clock. The flower is in the center.
You got it.
And I'm guessing the sun behind the photographer.
Very good.
Instead of at 12 o'clock, that would be looking into the sun. And if it was coming from either 3 or 9, there would be shadows coming from those directions.
Excellent. Really good. Well done, Julie. Very nice. So in an ideal world, and this is not always possible, but at least at the start when we're thinking about photography, you are going to get the strongest, and most importantly for the iPhone, you're going to get the easiest photos to capture when the light is becoming from behind you as the photographer onto the subject. any of you have ever been into a photography studio or seen a photography studio on TV, generally the lights are behind the photographer. Have any of you had your picture taken by a professional photographer with lights? The lights are behind the photographer shining onto you. They're not behind you shining into the camera. So if we can get the direction of light coming from 4, 5, we try to avoid 6 because especially if you're taking pictures of people, then they're going to be squinting. But 4, 5, 7, or 8, i.e. either over your right shoulder or over your left shoulder, that is going to instantly illuminate your subject. It's going to give it more contrast, more clarity, more depth, more richness, lots of good photography words just by us moving. Now we can, as Julie mentioned, we can photograph with the light coming from behind the flower into our cameras. This is a whole nother genre of photography called backlit photography, which we're not going to focus on too much at the moment because it's much, much harder to take a backlit photograph than it is to take what we call a frontlit photograph, where the light is illuminating facing the subject. We'll get to backlit photography because especially for flowers, I could show you an example in a minute, it can look beautiful, but it's just harder for our phones to do. Harder on any camera, even if you've got I know, well, someone mentioned they had a Leica or a Canon or an old Nikon. Backlit is great, but at first we're going to think sun is going to come from behind us or any light source. It's like if any of you were taking a picture of each other and you're in your room now, and here's the window, because most of you I can see over behind. Here's the window. And I've got 2 people. Okay, here's 1 and here's 2. Do I want the photographer to be number 1 or number 2? Let's ask Susan Osborne, please. You're on mute. Give it another go. Don't worry, Susan, we can come back to you. Let's ask, let's see who else is off mute. Let's ask Bridget, please.
I think number 2, but I'm guessing.
Okay. You unfortunately would guess wrong, Bridget, but don't worry. We learn from our mistakes. So we think about it. The key light here is the window. This is the key. We want the window light coming from behind the photographer, illuminating our subject. We don't.
Well, I thought we were shooting the other direction.
Oh, that's okay. Okay. So I should have drawn a camera. So there's our photographer. This is the ideal setup. There's a great phrase in photography that says window light is the best light. If you want to photograph a flower or a person or your pet and you're at home, if you can orientate yourself where the window is behind you, you are going to create a very nice, soft, flattering light. It's much harder if we put our camera in the hands of person number 2, where the window is behind the person. And I'm not in my normal setup today, but you can see there's a window behind me. If you can see me, it's not ideal lighting. It's far from ideal because the key light is behind me. It's not coming onto me. So my internet provider decided to have to lock out my internet today. They got a text at 7 a.m. saying your internet will be out for the next 36 hours. So that was helpful. So I'm not usually in a pink room, but today I'm in a pink room, which is nice. So lighting is directional. If you were to take anything away from that, try to make it so the light is coming from behind you. Again, that involves you moving, shifting.
Can I ask?
Someone have a question?
Yes, it's Iris.
Hi, Iris.
I took 2 photographs at our last general meeting in the same area. And one with 3 people is lit from behind. They stand with their back to the big window.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, it's softer, but I can't make out the details very well. Whereas when I went to the other side and had my back to the window and had the people turn around, it was very strong picture. You can see the feature.
Perfect. So that exemplifies exactly what we're talking here. So Iris would have hopefully stood, she's saying for the benefit of the group, when she stood here with the window behind her taking a picture of the group, she got a much better result. That comes back to the clock analogy. The iPhone, and in fact, every camera finds it very difficult if this group was taking a picture of Iris because usually behind here is very bright.
Right.
And then this person in the shadow, there's a big word that comes to lighting, and write it all down if you don't know it, that's called dynamic range. You'll hear me talk about this a lot, not so much today, but as we progress through the course. And the definition of dynamic range, sometimes seen as the acronym DR, is how much light your camera can see from the darkest of the darks, shadows, to the brightest of the brights, highlights. How much light can our cameras see? And every camera has a fixed dynamic range. All your iPhones, all your cameras, you can't make it any bigger and you can't make it any smaller. People pay more money for better cameras. As every new iPhone comes out, a big thing they try to sell on is it can see more light. It has more dynamic range. If you glance on the zoom and you see anyone, including me, in fact, just look at me, who has a window behind me, you can't really see what's outside that window. It's just bright white. Because the dynamic range on my webcam is good enough to capture me, but it can't see enough light to also see what was out there. If I told it to see what was out there, I'd turn into a silhouette.
So Adam, if
Yeah.
you
Hi,
take a
Sally.
photo, Adam,
Hey, Sally. Yeah, I see you.
if you take a photo and you've been in a group and it's too late to change
Yeah.
and it's very dark, the photo turns out dark, is there a way that the iPhone can I press a button in here that'll help lighten that photo up?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a topic we're not going to talk about today, but post-production or editing on the iPhone has come leaps and bounds and is actually very easy and user-friendly now. There's also lots of ways we can deal with like this issue I'm having here on the iPhone. But to answer your question, Sally, yes, there's lots of different ways. My hope actually is that for a lot of people, because 5 years ago, when I taught a group like this, maybe 80% of people had cameras, as in were mainly using cameras, 20% were using phones. Now I would say it's like in the group, and I teach a lot of I've taught a lot of GCA clubs, I taught a lot of other types of photography clubs and groups. It's probably 85% phone now, 15% camera. Unless I'm teaching something very, especially for a kind of a beginner intermediate group such as this. When I'm shooting something or teaching something very specialized, then yes, we get involved with larger pieces of equipment, more lighting. But to answer your question, Sally, and for the benefit of the rest of the group, there are tons of things that you can do on the iPhone after the fact. But I'm a huge proponent in that we get the picture as right as we can in. The less work you are editing or post-production should be creative, not corrective. It shouldn't be trying to hide for a mistake or fix a mistake that you could have fixed when you took the picture. That comes down to that one of those 4 Ps, patience. Sometimes it just involves waiting or moving perspective to get rid of the issue rather than just think, oh, I'll crop it out on the camera afterwards. I'll fix the color afterwards. Because usually you can fix it there and then. You've just got to know what to look for. So it's a great question. Thank you, Sally. And I'll make sure that we talk about that in future classes. I'm going to touch on that. To come back to anyone else got any questions just before I come into my second lighting thing? Good. Second one to think about is intensity. How strong or weak is the light? Now, again, this is an enormous topic that I'm just going to touch the surface on to get you thinking about it. But generally, I'm going to use my flashlight on my phone as an example. We don't want to photograph when the sun, the key light, is at its strongest up here.
No.
It makes for flat photographs. It doesn't illuminate my face. As the sun comes lower, 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 suddenly, look at the difference in my face, there to there. This is the clock analogy. My iPhone is at like 4 o'clock. If you guys are all looking at me from 6 o'clock. The key point is that, and this isn't always possible, But if you can, if you photograph the first 4 hours of the day or the last 4 hours of the day, you are going to get much stronger photographs. You're going to get stronger shadows. The light is not as strong, which means the iPhone has a better time handling it. And generally, you're going to, especially last 4 hours or even first 4 hours of the day, you move through something called golden hour, which many of you may have heard of, which is when the kind of the sun, and you've seen this, for all of you have seen a sunset, like the light goes this beautiful, rich gold color. And then we actually move, most people make the mistake when they photograph a sunset. I know one of you mentioned that you saw a sunset and you couldn't quite capture it. My hope is by the end of these sessions, you'll be better at that. But I cannot tell you how many times I'm in an amazing place taking a sunset and the sun goes just below the horizon and everyone leaves. Actually, the good stuff happens 5, 10, 15 minutes after the sun goes down. That's when you get the reds and the yellows and the pinks and all the colors in the sky. And then we also progress into something that we call blue hour, which is the sky goes this really interesting, like cobalt. You'll see some examples of this when I show you some pictures in a minute. The sky goes this like gorgeous cobalt blue for about, maybe it's not really blue hour. It lasts like 10, 15 minutes, depending on the time of year. And then the sky goes black. The camera sees more dynamic range, more light than we see. By seeing more light, it also sees more color. So it picks up on this golden hour, on this blue hour, on this very like beautiful, rich light more than even we see it. But it's very important for us to understand that if we can, we're going to go first 4 hours and last 4 hours of the day. Now, obviously, when you're traveling, it's not always possible. When you're out and about and you'll just see something pretty and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I need to teach you how to take pictures in those situations as well. But if I strictly said to you, yes, you are going out to photograph the Bixby Bridge, I wouldn't want you to go and do it at 1 o'clock because it would just not look as dramatic as it would earlier in the morning or later in the day. So we're going to come back to lighting, but lighting is very, very important. Second one that I would argue is just behind it, but equally important, is composition. The definition of composition is just where we choose to put things in our frame. And composition is one of the lead drivers that comes back to what I talked about previously to take the viewer's attention to the focal point. We're going to look at these in more detail. So hold off your questions if you've got questions. So composition is a biggie. Focus is another big one. We have the ability in photography to choose what's in or out of focus, what's sharp and what's blurry. We call that blur, that like most of you have got on your Zoom or you've seen it from your iPhone. Whenever you see it come up in GCA or you do any reading, the blur created by a camera lens is called bokeh. It's a Japanese word. It just means the aesthetic quality of blur created by a camera lens. So if we can create that, sometimes we can make more interesting photographs. Next one is movement. Most of you, when I ask what you like taking pictures of, alluded to something that moves. In the real world, most things move, including you as the photographer. You may be on a train, you may be on a boat, you may be on a wobbly bridge. But also the thing in front of you could be moving. It could be waves, it could be a hummingbird, it could just be swaying cypress, swaying, I don't know, pampas grass. But it's moving. And the ability to either freeze movement or show it is a huge weapon that we have as photographers to help us take better pictures. Another one that we alluded to is emotion. If we can make people feel something when they look at our photos, then we're definitely like on the right path. One thing I should have mentioned at the beginning of the class, today's class, I know I am going to throw a lot of stuff at you. So if you feel bombarded or overwhelmed, don't worry. I'm intentionally throwing a lot of concepts, a lot of different things at you. You've got the recording. Hopefully some of it sticks, if not all of it. But this class is intended, this particular one today is intended to be very broad, intentionally, to bring you all up to the same level. So if we think about this question, what makes a good photograph? Let's ask Judy. Judy, any other things that you can think of if we were baking a cake of making a good photograph. What else am I missing off my list here?
I color would be big
Good,
for me.
good, good. That's the most obvious one that I've missed.
And whether it's color or black and white, wanting to play your contrast.
Good, absolutely. Even contrast is a good contrast ties into lighting, but I would say that can be added to our list. Anyone else feel free to shout out actually if you will just call out. Anyone else got any other ideas of what could go into creating a good photograph?
A feeling.
Surprise.
Surprise,
Yeah.
Susan. Good. I would say surprise goes into emotion and story. They kind of tie into each other. Yeah, absolutely. Good. I know Susan mentioned that someone else was going to call something out at the same time.
I said spontaneity.
Oh, good. Yeah, spontaneity is a good one. Well, sometimes we want to be intentional and sometimes we want to be spontaneous. That's the difference between a candid and a posed photo. Both have their merits. Good, Karen. I would argue that another one that we should go on our list here is probably texture. Texture is a powerful weapon that we can use that is present everywhere. And I think that's enough for us to get started with. Lighting, composition, focus, movement, emotion, color, contrast, and texture. That's a lot to think about, but I'm going to break it down. Okay, so we've kind of covered lighting already. I'm actually going to go past this, but look, this is an example of a backlit flower. This is the hard one to do. But backlit can sometimes make flowers glow. I should have put this slide earlier on, but this we're not going to focus on too much. I just want to show you because it's a garden club and you'll see a lot of people will often take pictures of flowers with the sun behind them. So I don't want you to think that I'm telling you not to do it. I'm just telling you it's harder and that it's going to take some practice. But it can create a lovely, ethereal, magical, mystical effect. Let's talk about composition. Okay, I love this quote from a photographer friend of mine. Beauty can be seen in all things. Seeing and composing the beauty is what separates the snapshot. I don't want any of you after these classes to be what we call point and shooters. Not really thinking what you're doing. Point, 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 take some pictures. Point, 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 take some pictures, move on. Instead, really good photography is done with intentionality. You know what you're trying to do before you do it. And then your job is to figure out how to do it. But it's not just spray and pray. It's not, I'm going to take 400 photos and hope one of them comes out right. Intentionality is really big in photography. And one of the very first ways we can be intentional with helping to make better photographs is through composition. Now, if you can all pick up your iPhones I can see a couple of you are making notes. And I want you to go into the settings on your iPhone, please. So just go to the general settings that looks like the gears, the cogs. And I want you to scroll down to camera. It's a little bit far. It's like, for some of you, it'll be quite far down. For some of you, it won't be so far down, depending on what iPhone you've got. And click on camera for me. And then when you're in the settings of camera, if you scroll about halfway down, you'll see that it says composition. And under composition, it should say grid. And for some of you, not all of you, but for some of you, it's going to say level. For those of you who've got level and grid, if they're not already turned on, turn them on. For those of you who've just got grid, please turn that on.
Can you repeat how to find this, please?
Of course, absolutely. I'll write it on the screen as well so everyone's got it for their benefit. So you're going to go to your iPhone settings. That's step number 1.
Go into settings first?
Yeah, you're going to go into settings number 1. Then you're going to navigate your way down and you're going to find camera, which is number 2. And then once you click on camera, that's going to take you to another menu. And then, sorry, I don't know what's going on with my annotations today. There we go. And then you're going to go to another one. And in the camera settings menu, so you go main settings on the iPhone, camera, and then under composition, you're going to see the word grid. And you may see the word level. I want those both turned on. So they have a green mark next to them, please. And then if you get rid of that, flick it out of the way, and go back and open your cameras, you are going to
I'm not
see
there.
that you have a grid.
Mhm.
Everyone there?
Yeah.
Out of interest, just show of hands, who had this grid turned on before?
Oh, before now.
Oh, before, no.
Okay, so probably about 30% of us had it turned on. So this is going to be,
You want grid on?
I want grid on, you got it. And the
Okay.
reason I want grid on is the very first place that I want to start encouraging you to think about composition is with this thing called the rule of thirds. This grid is on every phone, every camera on the planet. It exists because it helps us get better composition. Now, what is the rule of words? First of all, I hate the word rule because in photography, there aren't really any rules. It's an art form, but I teach it to everyone as the rule of thirds because if you go away and look it up and Google it, you're going to see it's called the rule of thirds. It should be called the guideline of thirds. But the rule of thirds dictates that we split our frame with 2 horizontal lines and 2 vertical lines to create 9 quadrants. And the thing to remember is that you want to put, and I'm going to show you tons of examples of this in a minute, you want to put your focal point, your main subject, along one of either these vertical lines, these horizontal lines, or even better, where they meet. These, I'll give a special brownie point. Anyone know what this is called? I know a couple of you have been in my classes before. Can anyone remember what it's called? The intersection of the horizontal and vertical lines? Cass, can you remember?
I can't.
Nina, can you remember?
Intersection. I always just say the intersection. I can't remember.
Nina, can you remember? No.
No.
So they're called close. They're called nodal.
Nodal points.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, what? A nodal.
Nodal, kind of like noodle, but nodal. So if you so you'll hear me talk a lot about nodal points. Nodal points refers to the intersection of the vertical. If I was going to define it, it's the intersection of the vertical and horizontal lines on a rule of thirds grid.
Adam, just wanting to remind the girls with the students that are going to get all A's and those of us that are more average, that you encourage us to watch the recording again and then to write our notes again, to write our notes. And Cass is at the low end of the spectrum there. But anyway.
Yeah, people who take my classes often find typing the notes helps, make like a document or rewriting them, whatever helps you commit it to memory. As I say, the reason I like to record it is you can go through this all at your own pace. You can pause it. You can rewind and rewatch any part of this as many times as you like. So hopefully that helps you. Whereas you're not just in 2 weeks' time when I say, hey, the rule of thirds, nodal points, you know what I'm talking about because you've rewatched the recording. So yes, if you want to, great point, Cass.
And then we just want to remind you to 40.
Good. Thank you. So let's look at the rule of thirds in practice. Okay. So let's look at this picture and let's ask the other Catherine. Okay. Where does your eye go first in this picture? KMC group.
Hi. It goes to the 2 red dots over.
Yeah.
It goes over Mick Jagger's face.
Kind of helps that I put the massive red dots on his face. But I'm going to take off the grid in a minute. But when I took this picture of Mick Jagger, okay, I intentionally did not put him in the middle of the photo. I put him off to the left on this line. And then generally when we take pictures of people, the eyes are key. If you're ever taking a picture of a dog or a cat or a kid, we want to get down to their perspective as well. We want to look straight into the subject's eyes. That helps tell a story. But here, to me, the picture and the story was Mick Jagger's face. A, because it's recognizable, but B, because he's got like a face that just tells a really strong story. When I took this picture, I took this picture a while ago. I was working for a charity and went around with it was to promote education for kids that couldn't afford to go to school in Africa. And we went around on a school bus, which you can see kind of in the back there. He was 67 at the time. I took lots of pictures of him like during this time we spent with each other. But this one I really liked, but he didn't want me to release it because he said it made him look too old. But I managed to convince him that thankfully I could release it. But it's interesting when it comes to composition because we've learned earlier today that your eye should usually go to the highlight, go to the bright part. Now you've all been staring at this picture for a while, so your eyes are probably wandering. But when I pull this picture straight up, you get sucked straight into Mick Jagger's face.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because you'll see this again and again and again. Here's probably the most famous portrait photographer currently living, Annie Leibovitz. Look where she's put Leonardo DiCaprio's face. This is intentional. Now, he has a swan drape around his neck and there's lots of other crazy stuff going on. But for the purposes of what we're learning at the moment, he is right on, what do we call it, Missy?
Nodal point.
Good. He's right on. Nice job. He's right on the nodal point. All of this negative space, which is just empty, we use the fancy word for empty space in photography when we talk about composition, doesn't really matter because we get pulled over to his face. Once you know, and I'm going to show you tons of examples of the rule of thirds today. Once you know this, you're not going to be able to unsee this. Watch the news tonight, watch a show on Netflix, look at any magazine, look at any poster, look at any like thing around your house, you like in terms of that's art. I'm just looking at Karen and I'm looking at Karen's got like to the right of her shoulder, she's got some type of picture and the text underneath, but it's like perfect rule of thirds. Once you know it, you can't unsee it. It's but the key here is that he's on the nodal point. Interestingly, an aside just for a second, but I think it's quite interesting for is generally when we read photographs in the West, we look at a photograph from left to right, much how we read text. In Aramaic cultures, they tend to read photos from right to left because the text is the other way around. And in Asian cultures, where the alphabet is written vertically, they tend to read a photo top to bottom. You see this a lot in my world as a commercial photographer. Oh, in that, sorry, did that just pause on you? You see it a lot in my world as a commercial photographer because we'll often see that the thing that they are trying to sell is put to the right, to the left, or to the top, depending on
the market.
You got it exactly.
So if you were selling this photo,
yeah,
would you crop it or would you leave all that left on the left?
I'd probably leave it. And I mean, I'm going to show you. Look, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So here's the rule of thirds, okay? And I think if you look at this photo, that your eye gets sucked to Leonardo DiCaprio's eyes.
Yeah.
This is how 99.9% of people would take this picture. Now, I would make an argument here that you see his eyes, that you see the swan, you see his forehead, you see the hair, you see the background. General kind of common sense would think that just the bigger we made him and the more we put him in the middle, the better a photo would be. But look at the difference between this one and this one.
Yeah.
I would argue you get sucked much more to the focal point in this one than in this one, where our eye has a lot of room to wander. This is the
Adam, I like the texture that grass adds around him, and the element of the kind of the darker side kind of balances, what he has, what he's wearing. But I like the texture overall.
Yeah, it's got great texture to it, this picture. But I would still argue that the composition, is stronger in this one. If we're thinking about rule of thirds, and remember, there's no rules. This is just a guideline, and I'm just showing you examples of the rules. That this one you get just to the focal point. You still see the lovely texture in the grass, but Annie Leibovitz wants you to see his face first. She doesn't want you to see the grass first. Same, I pulled some magazine covers, just some of the late, like a couple of recent magazines. You'll see the rule of thirds again and again and again and again. Here. She's not necessarily on the nodal point, but she's 2/3 of the way up the frame. Same here. In fact, here there's some interesting lines taking us up to her face. But you'll see, once I show you this, it's a good example. LeBron James, he's on the right-hand side of the picture, looking, and he's 2/3 of the way up. Generally, when we have something, if you're taking a picture of a person or an animal, When they're looking in a direction, we want to leave negative space for them to look into. This photo would look bizarre if LeBron James was on this side and the negative space was behind him. That would feel uncomfortable. It wouldn't take you naturally to the focal point. So putting our subject on the nodal point is very, very important. Now, a lot of this is patience, a lot of this is skill, a lot of this is timing. Like this, I didn't get the hummingbird perfectly there first time, but I watched this hummingbird and I knew that it was going to fly into this bird of paradise, and I knew it was kept on flying in from this direction. So I chose to offset the hummingbird on the left with the bird of paradise kind of taking you up to it. But the key is that the hummingbird's eye is on the nodal point. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay. Which picture, let's ask Missy, which picture, number 1 on the left or number 2 on the right? They're really similar, but which do you think is better?
2.
Okay, why?
Because somehow it's more interesting that she's off center.
Yeah, so you've answered, it's because it follows the rule of thirds. The other one, she was smack bang in the middle. She's 2/3 of the way up and she's slightly off to the right, looking into the frame. This is not perfect rule of thirds, but it's close enough to make our photograph more interesting. Look at this girl here. Susan Osborne, where am I standing when I took this picture?
Laying in the grass.
Shh, don't give it away. When I ask questions to people, just see if you can let that person answer. I know it's tempting to call out the answer. So Susan, you're on mute, but someone gave the game away. I am sitting on the grass. I'm down at the kids' level. Now there's tons of other stuff going on in this photo. The lavender and her shirt match. There's focus. Importantly, for what we're looking at the moment, she's on the nodal point. But you can think about creating good photography is like building a set of like a Lego tower. We have all these tools and we stack them on top of each other. Sometimes we don't need all the Lego blocks, but it's good to have them at our disposal. This is a really good example of perspective and good composition coming together to create a more interesting photo. As I say, there's other things going on here, but we're not going to worry about that so much at the moment. And hopefully you can all see there where I've put the nodal point right on her right eye. The eyes are the window into a soul. Very important when we take good photographs of people. Now, we're a garden club, so I'd be amiss if I didn't show you pictures of flowers. Now, I could have very easily put this picture in the center. This is a very simple picture in terms of composition, but it's slightly offset to the right, very similar to Leonardo DiCaprio and his swan. It's on purpose to make the photo more interesting. Look at this lovely monarch butterfly. Look at the rule, look at the grid on here. The reason the grid is on your phone is to help you do this. In time, sometimes I tell people to take the grid off because I think like I don't have a grid on my camera. I just think I see better. But the grid is, think of it like a set of training wheels on your bike. The grid is there at the beginning to help you get stronger composition. Again, here you can see how the monarch butterfly is kind of looking this way. Therefore, I've left the negative space on this side. If I put the butterfly over here, sorry for my terrible drawing of a butterfly, looks like a butterfly. But if I put it over here, again, it would feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is me kind of knowing what, like I was watching these butterflies come in and out, in and out, in and out, kind of framed it before the butterfly then got there. I knew where I wanted the butterfly to be. There's a big movement in photography that's called the decisive moment. It's actually coined by the guy who I showed you the quote, your first 10,000 photographs are worst, Henri Cartier-Bresson. And the decisive moment essentially means that you see a picture, you kind of have in your mind with intention what you want to do, and then you wait. Comes back to patience. And you wait for that moment where the monarch butterfly lands on this plant. And then you take your picture. Rather than just moving around and desperately trying to capture a butterfly fluttering in the sky, you watch them, you observe them, you be patient, you persevere, you change your perspective, and boom, you get the picture. Especially with strong composition like this. Same here. This one's an interesting one. Let's ask Harriet if you're there. I know, but if you're not, don't worry. I'll give you a second. I'm going to ask Harriet the question, where does Harriet's eye go in this picture? And really, you guys have looked at it for too long now, but Harriet, where does it go to? First place.
Well, it actually goes up to the left.
Goes to the sun?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people, it goes to the sun, which is one of the reasons I put it there. So here you've got, even though this is on the rule of thirds, here you've got a competing element. You've got that bright sky. Now, some people would actually go straight to the pot of flowers. But the more you look at this, you see that this is not such good composition. It's okay, but it definitely could be better. The highlight at the top there, to me, is a little bit distracting from the flowers. So I want to show you good examples. I also want to show you bad examples. Let's talk about how the rule of thirds works when it comes to landscape photography or travel photography or street photography, because it's relevant to all types of photography. Let's ask Iris here. Iris, I'm going to bring it up quickly. Where do you think, when the photographer took this picture, that the drama is going on? Where's the real interest in this picture? You're on mute, but I think I saw what you said. Did you say you're still on mute? There we go. Try
Sorry,
again.
here we are. The moving water.
Good.
The edge of the ocean.
So the edge of the ocean. So first thing, a couple of things going on here. I think actually the real drama in this picture is going on up here. This is where the really good light is. This is where that golden hour light is on the rocks. Notice how that is on the nodal point. Generally, when we photograph landscape photography, we want to either do 2/3 foreground, 1/3 sky, or the other way around. I'm going to show you examples of both this. I'm fortunate enough, I judge a lot of photography competitions. One of the telltale signs of someone who's never had a photography lesson is every horizon is right through. And it makes it look like two photos put together, but they're not really balanced. So in this photo, Iris as well correctly identified, nice job, that I've used, and you're going to hear me talk about these a lot, I've used something called a leading line, which is the movement of the water, to take the viewer's eye up to the focal point, which is positioned on 2/3 of the way up the frame on the nodal point. Lots of photography words in that sentence there. Hopefully you're all okay with that. I feel like I can now start speaking photography language. So let's define a leading line. So a leading line is a compositional device that takes the viewer's eye to the focal point. And there's lots of different lights that I'm going to repeat that. So a leading line is a compositional device that takes the viewer's attention to the main focal point. And these leading lines are everywhere. If I was in the room with you now, any of the rooms you're sitting in, I could find 50 leading lines. You just got to know where to look for them. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But leading lines is like another one of those Lego building blocks that we use in conjunction with the rule of thirds to help make a strong picture. This particular image has lighting, it has perspective, it has lots of other stuff going on. But the main takeaway really I want you to take out of this is that we've got 2/3 foreground, 1/3 sky. Let's look at this picture. This is in Hawaii, I took this. Elaine, where does your eye go here?
To the sun.
Good. Why do you think it goes to the sun?
It's on the nodal point.
Good. So first thing is, it's smack bang on the nodal point. So I positioned it right there, and I've got 2/3 foreground, 1/3 sky. Okay. Anyone got any other ideas of why your eye gets to the sun so quickly in this picture?
Right.
Because it's bright.
Say that again.
Because it's bright.
It's bright. Yes. Very good. So
The fog is leading it.
The placement of the rocks in the center pointing back to the sun.
Good. So here I've actually created in this picture 3 leading lines that are all pushing your attention to the top left of this picture. I could have easily stood 3 foot to my right or 3 foot to my left, and I wouldn't have got that. But I wanted, especially this really cool kind, this is in Hawaii, I took this picture. I wanted this like kind of lava rock to really sweep and take your eyes straight up to where the sun is. Okay. Look at this picture in comparison to how the majority of people would take this picture. In fact, I see a lot of people like they take sunsets and they just take it like that. They just zoom in, zoom in, zoom in on their phone, pinch, 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 which I discourage them to do when we talk more technical in the next class. But here you can see that your eye wanders a lot more. It still sees the sun, oops, but it doesn't seem like there's a definitive focal point compared to here. Look at this really basic picture of the beach in Carmel.
Yeah.
It's not taken at a good time of the day, but it's good composition. The positioning of that edge of land is on the nodal point. We kind of sweep through, we follow the bay, and we've got 2/3 foreground, 1/3 sky. Blue sky in photography, unless there's clouds, we tend to find relatively boring. If there's no, here there wasn't much, but if there's no cloud, we tend to fill the landscape with a foreground if there's an interesting one available. When there's clouds, it's a different story. But like here's a picture. Look at this one of the Bixby Bridge. Good time of day. Where's the Bixby Bridge on the picture? It's not in the middle. Most people, again, would take this picture and they would just take a picture of the Bixby Bridge like that. Now, it's not specifically dead on a nodal point. It doesn't always have to be, but it's on the left. It's exactly the same as how I took the Mick Jagger picture. It's on the left of the frame and it's 2/3 of the way up, right there. Everything else, now the lighting and everything in this picture is lovely. It's the brightest thing. It's got a very nice warmth to it. But everything is pulling you to the Bixby Bridge because of where composition, because of where I've chosen to place it when I took the photograph. Okay. Anyone got any questions so far? Good. That means I'm doing my job.
Adam, I do.
Yeah, go for it. Hi.
Could you go back to the beach, the one prior to this?
Yeah, of course.
What is the subject in this picture?
Good question. So I think the subject is actually this bit at the end. That was a bad color there. I think your eye gets taken there. I think it's the beach, but I think the ultimate thing is you end up at that spot of land at the back. The cove sweeps you through. Now, the beach, there's not that much interest in. I mean, the beach is the subject, but I don't think you get stuck there. I think this line, which we'll talk about in a minute, helps take you to the edge of the land. Now, you may see it differently. That's the beauty of photography. We all see things slightly differently. We can agree to disagree, but I think the majority of photographers who looked at this would end up here, which is purposely why when the picture was taken, that's on the top third line. As in, there's not much sky, but there's more foreground. Good question. Really good question. Look at this one. This is just flipped the other way. This is in Miami. So this is sometimes when we have interesting skies, this is a third foreground, 1/3 sky, 2/3 sky. We let the majority of the frame be filled by the really interesting big booming clouds. But the horizon is not in the middle. It's like, take a look. I'm actually going to go to this one. Look at this picture. So I took this not that long ago, actually. This was in like April of this year, up in the Oakland Hills in the Bay Area. And I was now, sometimes in photography, you need luck. I was lucky. I got a great sunset. But I still had to think about how I was going to compose it. And because I had such this amazing, again, this was about 10 minutes after the sun had gone down. So the sun goes down, for those of you familiar with the Bay Area, the sun goes down kind of over here. And I purposely chose to make San Francisco over here, the Golden Gate Bridge here, the whole bay, only a very small proportion of my picture. I wanted the sunset, the beautiful colors, to do all the talking. And I look where I positioned the Golden Gate Bridge. I had my grid. It's right on that bottom nodal point. That's intentional because I picked up when I was taking this picture that just by luck, the clouds were creating this kind of almost leading line that was taking me straight down to the Golden Gate Bridge in Alcatraz. I mean, you guys have never looked. Sally,
Are you on a tripod?
Great question. This picture, I am on a tripod, yes, because I'm using a slightly slower shutter speed because it was darker, yeah. But you can do this just as easily by resting your camera on a bag or a water bottle. There's tons of ways to do it. But yes, to answer your question, generally me as a professional photographer, when I take most landscape pictures, I'm on a tripod. But Sally makes me think of a good point. All of these photos that I'm showing you throughout today, there's no, a lot of them have been taken on iPhones, but there's no, I'm not showing you one picture here that is not possible to take on an iPhone. I'm not showing you Usain Bolt sprinting like at the 100 meters, which is impossible to capture on an iPhone. This should be aspirational, but it also should be achievable, which is important. There's no point in me showing you photos that you can't take. But as I say, here I got lucky. Like it was a great sunset, but the way that I composed it was the important thing. Look at all these flowers and plants. These all are good examples of changing our perspective and using the rule of thirds. And now as you look at them, now you know the rule of thirds. I don't need to go through every one of them, but just take them all in as you're looking at them. Like, let's just look at this one as an example. What's my perspective here, Isabella, when I took for this photo down here? High or low?
High.
Think
No.
again. It's okay.
Well, obviously low, it's not high.
Yeah, low, because these little buds are tiny. So I'm down on the ground with them to make them look bigger.
Okay.
And so I'm low perspective, and look where I've positioned them.
Yeah.
And that nodal point. All of these, I mean, all of these, if I drew grids on them, are somewhat, they're not, maybe not specifically on the nodal points, but if they're not,
Pretty much.
They're close, yeah. They're all offset from the center. So we're going to use the rule of thirds as a group to help us take more interesting pictures. Now, let's look at this one. This is a really interesting picture for a second. I'm going to make it go away, and then I'm going to pull it up fast. Sally, where does your eye go first in this picture? 1, 2, 3. Go.
To the motorcyclist.
Good. So it's not actually a motorcycle, it's a person walking, but yeah, close enough. It's really small, hard to see. But yes, isn't that
the person?
The person, yeah. And isn't that interesting?
It was a motorcyclist.
No, it's okay. Isn't that interesting that we go to the person and the person is maybe less than 1% of the frame? They're tiny. Why don't we go to all of this or all of this or to the tree? Now, this is a rule of thirds picture. 2/3, 1/3. This one is not on a nodal point. But anyone want to have a guess why Sally's eye, and when I show this to picture, 99.999% of people, the first thing they see is the person at the end of the road?
It's moving.
Leading point.
The
Good.
direction of the
Leading
road.
line. Whoever said that, oops, sorry, it jumped there. What happened to my pictures? Sorry, 1 second. Technical difficulties. There we go. Good. It's got a leading line. And the reason I'm showing you this picture is the #1 type of leading line that exists in the world and easy to find looks like this. It's like a triangle. And an easy way to remember what it's called is if you take that triangle and you turn it upside down, that triangle makes a V. This type of leading line that looks like a triangle that is everywhere is called a vanishing point.
Oh, right.
You see it in so many forms of art. You go and look at Renaissance paintings, you'll see vanishing points. You look at certain types of ways that gardens, for those of you into floral design and the way that gardens are set out and designed, landscape designers use leading lines a lot. Go to a park, you'll see vanishing points everywhere. It's intentional. So here we have a vanishing point taking us to this person. Catherine, why do you think the vanishing point, the road, looks so big?
Which Catherine?
Sorry, Catherine Sparrow.
Adam, could we just at this point maybe just take a second and have everybody click, instruct them about changing their names possibly on the screen real
Oh yeah,
quick?
absolutely.
I
Yeah, yeah.
think it would
So
help them.
good question. So I think I think everyone's got the right, pretty much all of us have the right names. I know one of the Catherines, if you can change your name, you have to go into the Zoom settings to do it. You don't have to do it right now, but if you go to the Zoom settings, there's the ability just to be able to retype in the name, how it appears in the meeting. But I think most of you, yeah, I think everyone's good actually. And hopefully you can see my name, which is good. Cass, was there one person in particular that you were thinking
No,
of?
just Kate and Catherine are the two, and then Harriet is Incy, Incy.
Okay. So yeah, you guys, if you can, go up to your Zoom settings, which you may or may not see. It may be difficult at the moment because I may be filling your screen. But especially when I stop sharing in a minute, Zoom will come up at the top, depending if you got Apple or PC, but it should come up on the top left. You're going to click Zoom. You're going to click Zoom or meeting settings, and then you'll see one of the first options. You can just retype in your name.
Okay.
And you can just change your name.
I'll just change to Kathy.
Sounds good. Thanks. Yeah, that would be helpful. Then we have a Kathy and a Catherine. Good. So vanishing points is interesting because our eye goes to this tiny little person at the top. And I think this is also an interesting moment that I can kind of stop and reflect for a second and kind of take a step back from all these tools that I'm teaching you and rule of thirds and composition and leading lines and just strip it right back to its essence. If we think about photography relative to all other art forms, if I was a sculptor and I was making this scene that you see, I'd be getting clay or metal or materials and I'd be adding it to my piece. If I was a painter, I'd be getting my pots of paint, my palette, and I'd be painting paint onto my canvas. Generally, art is an exercise in addition, adding things to something to create something. Photography, this is probably the most art school I'll ever get on you on these three lessons. Photography is the only art form that is the inverse. Good photography is all about exclusion. What do we choose to, we live in a really busy, chaotic world. What do we choose to take out to help tell a stronger story? Phrase I have tons of these phrases, and everyone always says I should get them printed on t-shirts and mugs. But one of the ones I like is show less, tell more. I cannot tell you how many photographs I have critiqued and seen over the last 20 years, and it's usually the thing that people find the hardest when they start, is everyone wants to show everything. And sometimes when you show everything, you actually show nothing. You don't have a definitive focal point. Good photography is all about distilling the complexity of the world around us. It's showing those small vignettes that help tell a greater story. GCA encourages this a lot. You'll see a lot in a lot of the competitions and shows. There was always generally a category you'll see that says intimate landscapes. You may have seen that. That's trying to encourage you to think about not having to show. Now, sometimes we show everything, but not always. And in this picture, purposely, I have not shown you what's over the hill. Because if I showed you what we don't know, is this person just like walking in the middle of a field and their car is over there? Is there a gas station? Is there a whole city over there? We don't know. Which makes you in your head think about stories of travel and journeys and where's this person going? If I give it all away, there's no story. So as you're going out and taking pictures, and as I set you an assignment for this week's homework, I want you really to think about the fact that I need to think about what am I going to take out of this picture rather than what am I going to include to make it more compelling. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard.
Good. Yeah, it's interesting. Not many people think about that mind shift, but when you make the mind shift, it makes a huge difference. So let's come here. And so this is a vanishing point. Okay. Hopefully you all got it written down. It's a triangle. Okay. It's the number one most common type of leading line. The second most common type of leading line is called an S-curve. This is Ansel Adams, who I'm hoping that most of you you're all from Carmel. You know who Ansel Adams is. If you don't, he's probably the forefather of landscape photography. Now, Ansel Adams, where do we think, let's ask Nina. Nina, where do you think Ansel Adams wants our attention to eventually get to here? Where's the drama in the picture?
I think the mountains on the left.
Absolutely, good. So the mountains on the left up here, this is the good light. This is where he wants you to get to. This is in Grand Teton National Park. Now, the way that now notice, one way he helps us get there is by putting it on the nodal point. And you see this a lot in the work about, if you look at Ansel Adams' work, he's a huge proponent of the rule of thirds. He uses it a lot. But he's added here the rule of thirds plus what we call in photography an S-curve. You follow the meander of the river up to the mountain, up to the focal point. So this line is meandering through to lead us up to where we want to go. That's kind of interesting. Ansel Adams is a great example of patience as one of my 4 Ps. Ansel Adams had a camera that was probably as big as your kitchen table. Humongous. And he also only had like 6 to 8 chances to take his picture because he was photographing on these huge plates. They were very expensive, like very cumbersome, it was a very time-consuming activity. He'd lug this camera up to the top of the mountain with a couple of assistants. And rather than have the privilege as we have now to just be able to take, he would often go to a spot such as this with nothing more than just a pad and a pencil. And he would watch the light and sketch the light. How does the light hit the mountain at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock? Like, how does the river look at all those different times of day? He had to do that because he had to make sure when he took his one picture, he only had 6, maybe 8, if he was lucky, that he got the perfect light. Now, sometimes he'd sit up at the same spot for up to a week before he took his picture. I'm not going to ask any of you to go to the beach and sit there for a week, but it is good to remember, and I know someone had a question, I'll come to you in a second, that when we're standing in a scene, sometimes just waiting that half a second for the sun to come out from behind the cloud can make all the difference. Sorry, someone had a question.
I just want to say, I know his son, and his son would say, yes, they were there overnight sometimes, and Dad was on the top of their station wagon taking a photo.
Yeah.
So it's been a joy to know Michael Adams.
And yeah, I've heard you can tour Ansel Adams' home in Carmel, can't you? Am I wrong, or I know I've definitely spoken to students of mine and people who've, I don't know whether it's a private tour, but there's definitely a way that you can go to his home in Carmel and they open it up. Have any of you done that?
No.
Okay, well
No, he used to come to the museum and he and his sister and show photos and talk about when they were there and he was taking this photo.
Yeah,
his dad.
Very interesting. Well, maybe
So
one.
they were children.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, this photo was probably taken in the 40s. I don't know exactly, I'm guessing, but probably around that time, maybe the 50s. But for those of you who've been to Yosemite, I mean, in Carmel, I know there's lots of Ansel Adams stuff, but if you ever go to Yosemite in the valley there's a lovely Ansel Adams gallery. Now, when you look at these pictures, I want you to appreciate that he's done stuff, and for not stuff, he's done everything intentionally. Lighting, we've talked about today, direction of light. Look how the light's coming from the side. Rule of thirds, look how he's put 2/3 foreground, 1/3 sky. Look how he's offsetted the main thing on the nodal point. It's like all these building blocks coming together. And now he's added in, on top of that, an S-curve. Now he's made the photo black and white, and he's done other stuff that I could talk about here, which I'm not, because in every good photograph, there's maybe 20 good ingredients, but we're going to take them one at a time as a group. But I want you to be able to look at this photo and see why he's done what he's done. And the key is in the S-curve. In fact, you made me laugh because I was thinking of this picture and I was thinking about Ansel Adams standing on top of a Jeep. When I took this picture, I'm also standing on top of a Jeep.
Wow.
So I stood on top of it because I saw this amazing line and lighting, and there's texture, and there's tons of that stuff in the picture. But the main thing I want you to see is this is a form of S curve running through this picture, taking you. Notice where I've put the kind of the edge of the photo, the focal point where I think you eventually end is on the top right of the picture. But for me, the drama here is all about the texture and the sand dune. That's taking up 2/3 of the picture. Sky only 1/3. But this is a clear example of an S curve in action. Here's two much more simple examples. These are both in the Bay Area, not too far from you. For those of you familiar with San Francisco, this is Mount Tam, number 1, and this is Mount Diablo, number 2. These are both S curves. They both take the viewer to where we want to go. Now, in my mind, I've put these next to each other, and you can read the text in a second, but I think one of these is better than the other. Let's do a show of hands. Who thinks number 1 is better? Okay. Who thinks number 2 is better? Okay, so pretty much none of you. I'm quickly saying almost no one. Good. So you all thought number 1 was better. The question is why? So I'm going to ask Sally, why do you think number 1 is a strong? Because they're both rule of thirds. Like it's on the nodal point. Like that's on the nodal point. Why do you think number 1 is stronger?
Well, the leading line is very clear.
Good. Okay.
And it takes you to nature, which I see not only the hill, but the tree and the clouds. So you see 3 parts of nature that grab you and say, aren't we lucky to be here?
Absolutely.
And yes, I was just there yesterday.
Oh, fantastic. So let's think about.
I was at Mount Diablo yesterday.
The top left is Mount Tam. This one's Mount Tam in Marin, this one. And number 2, and this one's Mount Diablo. Good to know you guys are familiar with the area. So one thing Sally said that the line was prominent in number 1. Why do we think the line is more prominent, Iris, in number 1 than number 2?
Well, it is much lighter and it thins out to where the tree is, so it automatically leads you this way.
Good. Susan Osborne, let's try another. Let's look at why do we think the line is, I'm going to give you a clue, bigger in number 1 than it is in number 2?
Well, it's much more contrasty to what is behind it.
Good. I'm going to push you further. I'm going to go to Harriet. Harriet, why is it bigger?
The light of the sky in the background.
Good. The sky's helping, but let's you guys are overthinking it. Why? So let's go to Bridget. Why is this meander look bigger than this, Bridget?
Well, I think positioning of where you positioned your body.
You got it. I'm sitting on the road.
Yeah, but also I think the difference seems more pronounced of the 1/3, 2/3.
Yeah, well, it helps that you have the different layering and some separation here. This one feels a bit boxed in, but Bridget got the key point. Elaine, do you have a question?
No, I was going to say exclusion as well.
Yeah, good. We don't see what's around the corner, which helps. So it kind of tells a story. But what I was trying to tease out of you there as a group, which you got there, which was excellent, is this one is taken at eye level. And I want to move you away from just taking things at eye level. You don't always have to, but interestingly, look how like this crack and like the color of the road, like there's a crack here and there's yellow in the road here. I just don't see it as much because I haven't shifted my perspective.
An intentional focus.
Good. Intentional focus. We haven't even talked about focus today, but we'll probably talk about focus next time. Good, Cass. So the focus kind of runs in. Both are pretty well focused. But the key difference and why I put these photos next to each other intentionally is the shift in perspective and how much more meandering that S-curve line looks on number 1, top left, than it does in number 2. Good, very good. So I'm actually going to skip past this for a second. I'm going to come back to this. Let's talk about perspective. here,
Mm.
right?
Oh,
This is one
wow.
of my favorite photographs that I've ever taken. This is the Packard plant in Detroit. I went to school in Michigan, and then I lived in the Midwest for a little while. And this used to be the largest car plant in America. And it subsequently burned down, but all the crazy colors are from people going paintballing in the space. Not to blow my own trumpet, but I'm very fortunate. I have 3 photos in the Sir Elton John photography collection, which is like the second biggest fine art photography collection on the planet. This is one of them. This is one of them.
Wow.
Now, the crazy colors, as I say, people go paintballing in the space. I was very patient. I wanted to go here when it had rained. Who can tell me what type of vanishing point I've got going on here? Oh, too long talking. I just gave the answer, right? I was about to say what type of leading line I've got. Okay, so sorry, that was me giving the good. That shows I've been talking too long. So I've got a vanishing point here. There's actually a vanishing point here. There's a vanishing point here. Everything takes you to the back here. Now, there's lots of other stuff going on here. We're going to talk about, not today, but we're going to talk about symmetry as another big weapon in our photography arsenal. But the key here in this picture, and I went back here like maybe 6 or 7 times to get the light right, and I wanted it to have rained, so I had the reflections. But the way that I positioned this and composed it was I created a vanishing point to take the viewer to the back of this abandoned car plant. Now it helps. There's other stuff going on. We'll talk about another time, but I'm just going to point it out. There's framing, kind of like very similar to that phantom picture that I showed you at the beginning of the cave, how it was framing in that shard of highlight. This is very similar. Anyone want to guess? Is this taken from a low or a high perspective?
Low.
Good. So it's taken from a low perspective to emphasize that vanishing point. Now, this, I did say it halfway through today that everything was you could take on your iPhone. This, unless you've got the new iPhone, this you may struggle with because this was actually almost, you could take something similar, but not exactly the same. This was almost a mile long.
Oh,
What?
Really?
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. But by using a big zoom lens, you compress distances. And actually, some of the new iPhone, which came out last Friday, has a 200 millimeter zoom lens on it. Most of your iPhones will have which basically just means you can get much closer to something, but it also means that distances feel compressed. So this does not look like from here to here is almost a mile away. It almost looks like you could touch it. But it's compressed by using a zoom lens. And we'll talk about that when we get a little bit more into the camera. Today's very much about the conceptual, teaching you to see better. Our subsequent lessons will also talk about that, but we'll dive a little bit more into the technical, into how we actually use this tool of our iPhone. Okay. So with all of that in mind, I'm actually going to skip a couple of slides here and I'm going to jump to something that I want to show you. So with everything that we've covered today, okay, remember the theme of the class is what makes a good photograph. Okay, I'm going to ask Kate first. I'm going to go around the room and I want you each to give me one thing that you think makes this a good photograph. Let's start with Kate.
I would say the placement of the shell and the sun on the nodule points.
Good, the nodal point. Great. So first things first, our subjects are right on our grid, on our nodal point. Let's try Karen. Any other ideas of what makes this a good photo?
Well, there's an S line going through with the beach.
Good, really good. So what do we call that type of line? What's an S curve an example of? Let's ask someone else. Let's ask Catherine. What's an S curve an example of? It's like
A leading line.
Good. I was going to say it's like Wheel of Fortune. There we go. Leading line. So we've got, and actually here in this picture, I've got 1, 2, 3 leading lines, taking me all the way to the sun. Okay. Let's ask, you guys are doing really good. Nice job. Let's ask Harriet.
The 1/3, 2/3 composition.
Excellent. Good. So we got 2/3 foreground because the beach is so interesting and pristine, but then we've still got this nice and pretty sky, 1/3. Let's ask Bridget, another one. You guys are doing great.
Maybe the contrast of the light and the dark.
Good, 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 good. So this one is actually backlit. This is the sun coming into you, which I told you is hard to do. It is really hard to do at sunset, but we've got this nice contrast. And even if you look very closely here and you look at the lighting on the shell, it has this, we call this in photography, rim lighting. It has this like very nice, like little golden bit of light, like almost working its way around the edge of the shell. You can also see it like here on the beach and in the thing. So yes, good contrast. Elaine, what's this photo got lots of beginning with T that was in my list of things that make good photos?
I don't know.
No worries. Let's ask Susan Osborne.
Texture.
Very good. Nice job. Yeah. So we've got the sand is very texturous, but it's actually quite smooth. But the clouds also possess a lot of interesting texture. Look how good you guys are doing. You've just listed me like 7 things that I don't think you may have been able to do at the beginning of the class. So this is great. Let's go to Susan. Let's ask her any ideas.
I'd say a leading line to the sun along the horizon.
Good. So we mentioned that previously, and I'll reinforce it. Yes, we've got 3 leading lines here. So it's not just this one in the sand. Let's ask, who haven't I asked? Who's here's there? Let's ask Missy.
The perspective that you're taking at the level of the shell.
Good. Hold on, don't help her out. I'm going to ask Julie. Julie, what a cute dog you have. What breed of dog is that?
Oh, sorry.
No,
This is a Labradoodle.
Oh, so I have a Cavapoo who looks very similar to your dog.
This is a long time that she wasn't sitting in my lap. So this is.
She's done well. Julie, Missy mentioned perspective.
Yes.
Okay. Where am I when I took this picture?
You're in the sand down below.
I'm lying on my belly. You got it.
Yes.
Yeah. Iris, what has that done to the shell?
It emphasizes the shell, makes it look much bigger.
You got it. Well done. It's made it look massive. This shell in real life was like 5 inches big. It was tiny. But it looks ginormous because I'm close to it and because I'm really low down. Another thing to think about with that as well is think about this shelf in the sand, this S curve. If you're walking along the beach and we're 5 foot or 6 foot, we don't even see this. We're only seeing this leading line. It's maybe a couple of inches high. It's this really interesting like shelf in the sand, because we've shifted to a lower perspective. So let me tie that all up, like what the group said, which was great. You guys kind of like really like quickly, snappily ran those off.
Also, it's reduced. It's very simple. There's not anything extraneous.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if there was, I don't know, someone walking over here and they were like walking out the frame. That would feel awkward. If there was a bird flying over here and it was flying this way, that would be taking me away from the focal point. So we've got rule of thirds. We've got nodal points. We've got 2/3, 1/3 composition. We've got leading lines. We've got contrast and lighting.
Texture.
Texture, good. We've got perspective. And we've also, if I come back to my 4 Ps, we've got patience. You gotta wait till the sun's right there. Now you may be on walking your dog on the beach and the sun may be up here and you just walk past it. But if you take the 2 or 3 minutes to wait and you wait till it's there, then you're going to get, because again, it's kind of like the one I showed you of Hawaii where the line pointed straight to the sun. You'll see that a lot.
Yeah.
So
I think it has emotion. It has emotion as well.
Yeah, definitely. How's it? Tell me, how does it make you feel?
Very calm, very peaceful.
Yeah.
Even though the sky has, the look that it does, it's still very calm.
It's really serene. Yeah, absolutely. It's got a very soft color palette, this as well. All the lighting is very nice and soft and calming. Good. At this point, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm gonna say well done to everyone. That was excellent. The fact that you guys so quickly rattled off all those things. Now, some of that stuff you may have known before, but that one photo kind of bundled everything together that we've just learned. in terms of answering that question, what makes a good photograph? As I say, not all these tools I've shown you today need to come into every picture that you take. But sometimes you'll lean on perspective, sometimes you'll lean on lighting, sometimes you'll lean on composition. The hope is as you practice, you incorporate more and more and more in more naturally. It's kind of like, I always use the analogy of learning to be a better photographer. It's like if I threw you all into a car and you've never driven before, and I say, turn the wheel, put your foot on the gas, lift the indicator, look in the mirror, everyone's like, whoa, this is way too much to think about. If you drive a car, you don't even think about it. Photography becomes subconscious. All this stuff that I've taught you today becomes subconscious, but you have to practice it at the beginning. The more you practice, the more you persevere, the more that this will become instinctive. You'll just see it, which is ultimately the whole point of today's lesson, was to teach you how to see better. Okay, I'm going to give a homework and then I'm going to ask if anyone's got any questions. So here's the homework. So I don't mind what you photograph: landscapes, people, kids, dogs, cats, gardens, flowers, it doesn't matter. But I want you to photograph around the theme of lines. It's intentionally vague. But I want you to think about, I want you to go back and rewatch the recording. I want you to make some notes. I want you to try and incorporate things that we've talked about today. If you're standing somewhere, you're like, oh my God, the sun is in the wrong place. What are you going to do?
Change your perspective.
You're going to move. You're going to move, exactly. So, but you've got to be conscious of that. You've got to be thinking about it. If you're not thinking about it, then you wouldn't even know to move. If you see a leading line, which you're hoping you're going to see loads of lines, and it could be the slats of your blinds, it could be the line of a bookshelf, it could be a huge sweeping beach, like they're everywhere. But let's really focus on emphasizing them and seeing. And I'd love if you could all send me. You can just email them to me. You've all got my email address. You're going to have it again because I'm going to send you the recording today. You can just reply to that email with the pictures, or create a new one, whatever's easier for you. And please send me 3 pictures. They don't all have to be of the same thing. And I will say, don't just send me the 3 that you think are the best. If you've had one and you're standing in front of a barn or a mountain or a scene or the ocean, and you're really having a challenge with something, take a picture, because it's usually from those pictures that we learn the most from our mistakes. Cass, go for it.
Do you want to, should they include maybe Carmel by the Sea, CBT,
Not necessary. I've got it all. So as long as everyone replies to the email, I know who you all are. You're if you want to put in the subject, Carmel by the Sea lines assignment, great. But I think I know who you all are. But my biggest ask is send it to me by the night before our next lesson, and which I'm going to confirm now. Our next lesson is on Monday the 6th. Oh no,
Yeah.
when is our next lesson?
Monday the 6th,
I think.
Monday the 6th.
The 6th and then the 22nd.
Okay, Monday the 6th. Okay, perfect. So send it to me by before that day, before that Sunday, if you can, please.
By Friday the 3rd, October 3rd, or Thursday, or the 1st of October.
1st of October would be great. And then actually, I'm going to ask I'm sorry to do this, but I'm just looking at my calendar. So it was my 40th birthday yesterday, as Cass mentioned. And I just got a surprise trip to Disney World, which is on Monday the 6th. So I'm going to see if I can move you guys, but I want to move you guys to a time when everyone can do it. So I'll put this in an email and you can reply. And I know there's some people who aren't here, and sorry to do this. I would never, ever, never normally do this, but I did not know about this trip that was booked for me for my birthday. And there's no way you want me to teach you from the middle of the Magic Kingdom. Hold on, how about we do, okay, I'm gonna give 2 options. Let's see, do a straw poll. I can do Wednesday the 8th, this same time. Or I can do Friday the 10th, this same time. In fact, I can do either of those. So let's do a straw poll. Who can make Wednesday the 8th, 9 to 11?
Oh, I can't.
Okay, hold on. Okay, that's a fair number of people. What about Friday?
Do Friday.
Hands up, Friday. Okay,
The 10th?
it looks like
Yep.
Friday's the better
I can
one.
do Friday. I
Okay,
can do Friday.
yeah, everyone can. Okay, if you wouldn't mind, and I'm so sorry to move you, but can we do Friday the 10th, 9 to 11? And then I'm going to set the time. I want you to send me the pictures by before Wednesday, the night of Wednesday the 8th. That's good. It gives you a little bit more time to practice. And I won't need to change the last one. This is it's not often that trips get booked without me knowing about them, but this was a surprise.
Oh, that's exciting. No apologies. That's important.
So yeah, I'll be sharing pictures of you of my 2 and 4-year-olds with the rule of thirds, like with Mickey. Does anyone have any questions on anything that we covered? Kat, hold on, a couple of questions. Let's go Karen first and then Catherine.
Yeah. Repeat the theme again.
Lines. Sorry,
Lines.
English accent. Lines.
Oh, lines. I thought you said light.
No,
Yes.
lines, as in leading lines.
I will send a reminder to everyone as well.
I'll put it in the email when I send out the recording today.
Okay,
perfect. But I'll make sure that because obviously there's some people who are on the recording here who aren't here today. Okay, a couple more questions. Bridget, go for it.
Is the third class October 20th or 22nd?
20th, October 20th.
Thank you.
Oh, the 20th. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've got these are intentionally spaced a little bit apart to give you time to practice. Catherine, you have a question.
I did. And this is back when we went back to the settings and we put grid and level.
Yeah.
Also on my camera, I had turned on view outside the frame. Should that be on or off?
Turn it off for the time being.
Oh.
Because otherwise you're taking a picture and not everything that you're taking a picture of is actually what you're taking a picture of.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
someone else had a question. I saw a hand go up. No, good. So take your time, watch the recording. It's been a real pleasure to meet you all. And thank you again to Cass for pulling this all together. I know she's done a lot of hard work to get everyone in the group here. My hope is that this is going to be, especially when we start to look at all your pictures, it's just going to be a lot of fun. And we'll progress together as a group. If any of you have any questions, like over the next 2 and a bit weeks, I always say, don't suffer in silence. If you're stuck on something, sometimes it would take me a little while to reply because I'm on a photo shoot or I'm teaching for the day, but just send me an email if for any reason you're stuck with anything. I'm more than happy to help you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been terrific.
Yes.
I'm going to stop the recording.